Today I was thinking more about all the emotions we go through as caregivers, and I started thinking really the way that I cope best is just by trying my best to maintain a sense of humor. You know, the old saying, it's better to laugh than cry. I think as caregivers, most of us have found that to be very true. And I'm sure most of y'all know that the endorphins that we release when we exercise, that we know is a great stress reliever, obviously, to have a good cardio workout, those same endorphins are released when we have a good belly laugh. So for me personally, I would rather have a good belly laugh. But I know that that's much more of a challenge than I'm making it out to be, because some days it's just hard to get through the day, let alone finding anything to laugh about. So for those of you who are at that point, please know my heart goes out to you, because that is a hard place to be. But I am still hoping that no matter what stage your loved one is in Alzheimer's, that you can still find some reason to smile and hopefully even have a good laugh every day. So I just wanted to share a few thoughts, and I will be honest with you, when my mom and I first moved in together, she was doing a lot of really crazy, silly things. And one day, this is when I realized she could not be in the kitchen anymore, and she was trying to follow a recipe. And it wasn't just that she couldn't measure things, but she was getting down sugar instead of flour. And, part of me just wanted to cry, but instead I started laughing, and she looked at me and she was like, "Are you laughing at me?" And that broke my heart, because I would never want my mom to think I was laughing at her or being disrespectful. And I'm sure that you would not either. So I think, it's common sense stating the obvious here. But we all do have to be careful that our loved one knows that we're laughing with them and not at them. And when they're not laughing, I think we have to be creative in finding ways to get them to laugh as well. So it is us laughing together, because then it's a win-win, and both of our days are better. But through watching other people, specifically in adult daycare and in skilled nursing facilities, what I saw, the really good nurses and the really good CNAs, they knew how to use humor. And, they wouldn't just go up and tell somebody, okay, you need to get up, we're going to take a shower. No, they would go up and say, let's turn on some music, let's dance. And then they'd get them up and they'd start dancing, and they'd ease them to the shower. So sometimes I think about people like that, and I'm like, they made it look so easy, and it's not always that easy. But I think we could still, strive for that. But what I also saw with those folks, the staff there in facilities and daycare, they really used humor and bantering with patients as a way to manage conflict. And, I think with our loved ones, we know sometimes what their triggers are, or even if it's something unexpected, we can watch them and we know, okay, is this about to spiral down into a dark place and it's going to be a bad day? Or for some of you, I know the issue is, okay, that just made him or her mad, and this could escalate into them, really, that they're going to be up for a fight. And I don't even mean to laugh at that, because, I can't imagine how difficult that is. But what I want to do is be more observant with my mom, so that I can really nip things in the bud and keep her in a happy place, and consequently keep me in a place where I can, banter with her and laugh more throughout the day. And there are so many caregivers who do that consistently throughout the day. And I'm in several, like I've mentioned before, support groups online. And I wish I was smart enough to be able to string together, excuse me, a lot of their videos of just things they do with their loved one. Sometimes it's the tone of their voice or their music or just the conversations. It's hard for me to explain. So I am going to put in the description below links to Life with Al Facebook group, where I'm going to post some of those, and I'll do some direct links as well. But just this morning, I walked into my mom's room, and I leaned over, she usually reaches for my hand, and then I help her come to the sitting position for her to kind of get woken up and, shake the cobwebs out of her head. And so I did that, and she sat up, and it was dark, like from her shoulder all the way down to her elbow. It was just like these black streaks of something. I thought, oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, are you bleeding? And I leaned closer and I started laughing. Guess what it was? It was a Hershey bar. Okay, so she keeps some. I put them actually in her drawer, because she's like me. She loves her chocolate. And so she has her little miniature Hershey bars that she can get out when she wants one. And So apparently she had done that during the night and forgotten about it. And because I knew that's what it was because I saw the wrapper under her pillow. And then apparently I never found the whole bar, so maybe she ate part of it. But most of it was under her armpit. So apparently I can picture her on her side eating her candy bar and then it getting stuck under her armpit. And then Mom looked at me and she was like, I'm so sorry. These were my new pajamas. I made a mess. I'm always making messes. And I thought, oh no, we are not going to spiral down and have a bad day. And I said, Mom, I said, I like to hide my chocolate. I used to do that. I'm trying not to do that anymore. But I said, I could be a hoarder and you don't even have to do that, Mom. You can keep them in your drawer, but you do not need to hide them in your armpit, Mom. That's just really gross. Let me check your other armpit. And then I just got really silly about it, and she started giggling and laughing. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's going to be a good day. But I was also thinking about this gentleman that his wife was actually the one with Alzheimer's. And he was a little prankster. And whenever the hospice team would visit, he had all these, and they really looked real. Little bugs, little snakes. He had the pile of dog poop. And he thought it was hysterically funny to put that, either on the couch where you're going to sit. So, he did that to me one time with the poop. And so I'm, acting like I'm not offended that I'm sitting next to a stinky pile of dog poop at my feet. And then halfway through the visit, he cracked up laughing to let me know it wasn't real. And then other nurses said, oh, well, he put this tarantula in my nursing bag. I didn't see it until I got to my next patient's home. But anyway, he just really, it was sad. Obviously, his wife was on hospice and was at the end stages, but he was one that I will always remember that, boy, he was determined that he was going to still find joy, make other people laugh, and make the best of a horrible, horrible situation. So I often think of him and think, okay, yeah, he brought me a lot of laughter and joy. Hopefully, I can at least do that with my mom so that, like I said, we're laughing instead of crying. But I was also thinking, I used to volunteer at Lisa's Care Connection. Y'all may not have heard of that. You probably know Lisa Gibbons. She used to be on Entertainment Tonight, and her mom died of Alzheimer's, and now she has Lisa's Care Connection. Wonderful, wonderful outreach to caregivers. And she actually has a house in Columbia because that's where she's originally from. So I was living in Columbia, so I used to get to volunteer there. Even had the honor to meet Lisa a couple times. Just a heart of gold, very down to earth. She's all about giving resources to caregivers. In fact, I am going to put a link to that in my description as well, because maybe that will be helpful to you. But every time I was there doing a support group, I would really watch this one lady, and she was just bubbly, joyful, happy, almost giddy all the time. And I used to think, I don't know what medication she's on, but I want me some, because it's like she never had a bad day. And her mom, she was barely ambulatory, but having some significant issues, really significant memory loss, obviously. But her mom was just also so happy. And I thought, they're just two peas in a pod. So I just really started watching them because they were so adorable. And then I started noticing this woman works hard to keep her mom in a good, happy place. It's like kind of like when you have, children that are disciplined, then you start watching and you're like, okay, that didn't just happen. They're not just good kids. That those parents are working hard, to keep them in line. And it was really the same in that she was really watching her mom and looking for those subtle changes that we wouldn't notice. And then she was up and she was redirecting or finding something to make her laugh or reassuring her or whatever. And so, people like that, I'm like, boy, I need to step it up. And they encouraged me to do better. But one week she brought in these big red cardboard lips, and it had a little stick on it, and she brought them in for all of us. And so when she walked into the support group, she had her back to me, and she turned around and she had these bright lips, and she struck some silly pose with a silly expression. And everybody in the room, of course, started laughing, because how can you not? And she said, I just found these, and every time my mom isn't being cooperative or starts getting cranky at night, I just do these lips. And then she was showing us all the different poses she did. And I thought, boy, her mom is happy, but she's got a daughter who's working hard to keep her that way. So I'm trying my best to do the same. Not nearly as good and creative as she is, though. And, I was thinking, because I was just trying to think of different examples to share with y'all that might encourage you the way that they have me over the years. And I had this one lady who, her husband had always wanted to go to Hawaii. It was on his bucket list, and they didn't get to make it. And he was already on hospice, but he was able to sit in his recliner, and she was still feeding him. So he wasn't imminent, but very, very frail and did not have long. But she decided that she was going to tell him that they were in Hawaii. So she went all out. She didn't just buy like little blow up palm trees. She bought like artificial, palm plants, and I don't even know what they're called, different things throughout the house, tropical orchids and things. And then she had all of her friends come over, and they were wearing bright color Hawaiian shirts. And she had her fruit. When I went over that day, she had a pineapple on the table that she was cutting up, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you could come see us while we're on our vacation." And so of course I just played along, and I thought that is so it didn't just, he was sitting in his chair. Honestly, he wasn't responding a lot, but like I said, it was more for her. But she had spent weeks planning their little menu every day, and how she was going to decorate, and who she was going to come have visit on different days to cheer him. And I thought, boy, you talk about living with intention. She is my role model, and that just really is something that I'll always remember. So anyway, when I was leaving, I remember telling her, I said, "I really think you wiped out the luau aisle at Party City." And she said, "You have no idea. I just kept going back and getting more." But she was able to laugh and enjoy that. And I know that's going to be a good memory of her, having those pictures, of her friends with their Hawaiian shirts around her husband and all. Certainly not ideal, not their dream vacation, but she made the best of a bad situation. And she was I know I keep saying very intentional. I need to find another word. But she was very intentional about choosing, I'm going to laugh instead of cry. And not that there weren't tears as well, but she, like I said, making the best of a very bad and sad situation. I'm going to wrap this up with one of my favorite quotes, and it's by Victor Hugo. He once wrote that laughter is the sun that drives the winter from the human face. Laughter is the sun that drives winter from the human face. Isn't that a great quote? So I hope y'all are able to laugh at something tonight, and hopefully you can even do that with your loved one. But that's my prayer, that we will all have a little more laughter in our life. So until next time, take care.